So we'll talk about WordPress integration. Okay, so who are we? I'm Tim Sambura, the CEO of Lumenfire, and Nick Siski is the CTO of Lumenfire. And our story, my story with WordPress is that about 8 years ago I left my corporate job, and I had a personal website that was built using Dreamweaver and straight HTML, and I needed a new website, and so I found WordPress somehow and started building content on that for the business that I was starting. And along the way, I ran into Nick Siski at one of these WordPress meetups.
Back at the Nerdery, right?
Yeah, when it was held at the Nerdery. And then my primary tool set, which I'll talk a bit about, has been working with FileMaker, which is a database application development platform. And I needed to integrate FileMaker at that time with the web, and with WordPress was my hope. And so Nick was one of the, I hired him as a subcontractor to help on some jobs. We got to know each other. He had his own business, freelance business, and we decided it would be easier for us to move forward together in a business at that time, and that's where Lumenfire came. We rebranded about 3 years ago and got into this building about 2.5 years ago. So we've grown quite a lot from just the two of us. We're almost 20 employees now, and a big part of our business is WordPress. So FileMaker, WordPress, and we're also an Apple Consultant Network member. So we do some Macintosh and iOS device support as well. Other expertise, we have people on staff that do GIS, data visualization, and then we also do some security consulting as well. So, question, how many of you use WordPress? Oh boy, I'm glad, because you're in the right place then. And how many have ever heard of FileMaker or used FileMaker in the past? Okay. Okay, so we've got about 5 or 6 people. Does anyone understand what JSON is, or curl, or REST APIs? Okay, so that's a little bit more of the technical crowd then. I just wanted to kind of know who I'm talking to. I'm going to talk to these 4 points overview. What is integration? What does that word mean? Then what is a workplace innovation platform, which is a specific term? And then what is FileMaker and why might we want to integrate with it? And then I'll give some specific WordPress integration examples, some work that we've done. So application integration, the word integration, is really about bringing systems together. It's about making different software systems talk to each other. And so that's what I mean when I'm talking about integration. And there's a problem in business that can be explained by these 3 kind of bullets here, that we've got scattered information, things in a lot of different places. We maybe have ad hoc processes that aren't repeatable, and we have rigid technology. We have tools that do specific things, and they are maybe more difficult to customize or do exactly what we want in our business. So that if you experience these, we'll call it the work rut. And we also have something that is trying to address the work rut is categories of software today that work. And a lot of them are very user-focused, kind of like WordPress. It's a do-it-yourself kind of thing. If I can use a software tool that's no code, you know, I don't have to write any code, or low code, or it's rapid application development, all these buzzwords, that's something that might address the work rut. But it's confusing what they are. And so there's been recently the introduction of a new category of software called a workplace innovation platform. And it sits in the middle between appliance apps. Appliance apps are things like your accounting, maybe your QuickBooks or Microsoft Word or things like that. And then you have enterprise systems on the other side, which would be large systems, DBMSs, you know, based on Oracle or something that require a lot of custom programming and maybe a little bit more out of reach for a lot of businesses. So I'm going to play now. This is a 60-second video. It's a marketing video from FileMaker, but it explains this really well in a very short period of time, so I think you'll find it interesting.
Your team isn't a work rut. Enterprise systems manage critical tasks, but can't help you reach your team's goals. Your appliance apps do important things like file sharing and accounting, but appliance apps can only take you so far. Progress has stalled, and the technologies you use to manage your business have reached their limits. So how do you solve it? Introducing FileMaker, the world's leading workplace innovation platform. It gives you everything you need to solve your ever-changing business challenges. With FileMaker, you can design and create custom apps for your business, share your apps so your team can work anywhere, and integrate your apps with software services and IoT devices. Now, breakthrough technology is accessible to everyone. Unleash your ideas and your expertise to streamline workflows, solve problems faster, and improve your business. Whether you choose to build custom apps yourself or with a trusted advisor, FileMaker can help you start innovating your own way. FileMaker, the problem solver's problem solver.
Okay, so that gives you a little overview of where FileMaker fits. And this, if you've ever heard of G2 Crowd, it is a site where you can go and get independent software reviews. They're reviewed by the people who actually use that software. So they're about as unbiased as you can get. And in the best workplace innovation platform, you see up to the far right and up is FileMaker in the upper right-hand corner. So it's the most popular workplace innovation platform that there is in comparison, but you can read those reviews out there. And then if you were looking there under web content management software, you're also going to find that WordPress is up in the upper right there. They actually, HubSpot is considered, I don't even know why that's considered a web content management system. I guess it,
they have a CRM.
Yes.
No, they have a CMS.
Okay, so they do. So, but you'll see, I mean, so choosing FileMaker or WordPress, they're both good bets, at least as far as how they're reviewed on G2 Crowd. And so we have out on our website, these are a couple of infographics that we've shared, and I just want to share them because it really at a glance shows you how WordPress is in the environment and also how FileMaker is. You see that WordPress is available in a lot of different languages. It has a lot of plugins that add value to it. It has 1.5 billion downloads of various plugins. It's the best overall content management system and powers 60% of the internet that's based on a content management system. So it has a very large community, a lot of support from WordCamps and large companies that are utilizing WordPress. So it's a very safe place to put your information and to build off of for a business. FileMaker is much the same way. It's smaller than the WordPress community, but still, it's been around for 20 years. It's a subsidiary of Apple, so it has a lot of technology backing, money behind it. It's consistently profitable for 80-plus quarters. They have over 4 million downloads of the mobile version of FileMaker, which is FileMaker Go. It's a #1 rapid application development tool, or as we saw, the workplace innovation platform. It connects or integrates with almost all of the popular relational databases directly. Large community, again, of people, so you can get help, you can meet with other people that use it. So it's made up of 5 different products: FileMaker Go, FileMaker Advanced. Go is the mobile version, Advanced is the desktop version. It works on Mac or Windows. There's a WebDirect product that lets you put FileMaker out on the web. There's a server that you can also run to share FileMaker, and then there's FileMaker Cloud, which is a cloud server offering from FileMaker. And recently, FileMaker has changed quite a lot. I mean, a lot of people who have heard of FileMaker heard about it a long time ago, and they don't know what it's turned into today. So, so you talk to somebody and they say, well, you know, my FileMaker that FileMaker app doesn't work very well. It doesn't really do exactly what we want. What they're really referring to is something that somebody built with FileMaker, and it might be really old, and it doesn't do exactly what they want to. But the platform is different than what's built. It's just like if you were going to build a WordPress website. You can build a bad WordPress website, but you don't want to blame WordPress for the fact that you used a really bad theme or something like that. So these are all the areas that FileMaker is regularly working on: mobility, development, integration, security, and scalability. And their vision from the beginning has always been to try and make advanced technologies available to non-programmers or users that just want to solve problems. And so they started out with just the graphical user interface, and it was one of the first cross-platform tools where you build it once and it would work on Windows or the Mac. It became relational at some point. And so they're continuing to invest in getting Internet of Things and other technologies into the core platform. So if you're going to choose to use FileMaker, I think these are some of the reasons that we discussed, that it's really, to sum it all up, is that it's a fast way to build powerful custom applications. And so the way that fits in with WordPress is that WordPress is also a great tool. It powers 47%. That statistic needs to be updated. We said 60% of all CMS's sites, and has all these plugins. So both are really great tools. So why don't we make them talk to each other? We want and have the tools use their strengths where they are best. So we're kind of looking. When we use FileMaker, it's because it's used internally within an organization. It's used for workflow management or automating processes, doing custom reporting, integrating different data sources and web services. It can be like a data warehouse for a company as well. And it's not, again, because it's less than 250 users. In a large organization, it's going to be within a department possibly. It's not going to run all of the cash registers at Target. But at Target, they had over 600 users of FileMaker in different departments and 40 different applications that were built with it. And then we have WordPress, which is really great at extending to thousands or millions of people because it's very scalable. And you can use it for e-commerce and account management. So if you take the combination of these two tools together, you have a really powerful system, because there's things that are more difficult to do in WordPress that you can easily do in FileMaker. And so that's why I want to demonstrate that for you. And it's starting out with a simple thing here where we're utilizing Gravity Forms. How many people use Gravity Forms or know what it is? It's a plugin for WordPress that gives you a really nice drag and drop interface for building forms. And it really is the industry leader in WordPress world. It's very flexible, reliable, and it's very well supported. It's not a free tool. You pay for it, and so it's going to be around. It's very powerful. So we chose to use Gravity Forms as our primary forms generator for WordPress. And so then the question is, how do you get that Gravity Forms information into FileMaker? Because FileMaker is not going to be available on the web to everyone. It's within my organization, but I want other people to be able to send information to me, like a registration form, for example, and get that into FileMaker and use it. So we can just do an export as a CSV file or an Excel spreadsheet and then import that into our app. That's the simplest level. Or we can write a connector that automatically goes from FileMaker out to the web, pulls it from the WordPress database and brings it in. And then at the most advanced level, we actually, because we do this so much and with a lot of different companies, we wrote a tool called Brilliant Sync that does a bidirectional communication between FileMaker and WordPress. So that'd be at the most advanced level. I'm going to show you an example solution that I personally built because my two daughters play volleyball, and because I know these tools, I didn't want to pay for a Sports Engine, and it's like something off the shelf. I just want to build my own, and it's simple enough that we could do that. So I've built, and I'll actually go into this, I have some slides here, but I'm going to actually go to they're the backup if the demo doesn't work. Okay, so this is the Diggs Volleyball Club website, and it is a standard WordPress website. I'm going to go out here to the Diggs Volleyball Club website. And we like building on Genesis themes. They're very reliable. And again, it's a theme that you pay for, so it's gonna be around. It's supported. It's very modular. So this is built on a standard Genesis theme. You get a lot of good things like it's responsive. It'll work on mobile phones and iPads out of the box. And you can see I've got pages like a tournament registration form, and the sign-up form. And I've got a calendar in here integrated, which is just from a Google Calendar. So the teams can see what days they have practice. So that's just integrated right into the website. So and so the sign-up form is what I want to talk about, because, okay, so if somebody goes out, when we open up registration, this is a form that was created with Gravity Forms in WordPress, and I'll show you the back end of that. And they can fill out this information and then click on Submit. And when they do that, me as the administrator of this website, I can go into the back end of the website under Forms, and there's a number of things you can do under Forms. This is all from the Gravity Forms plugin. I can create new forms. These are all the forms that are out there. I could edit that form. For example, this is the player interest form. If I went in, I could go and I could drag and drop and the elements of the form and change those so that it's gathering different information. But what I'm really interested in on an ongoing basis here is that form's done. I'm just going to look at the entries. So when I look at the entries, I'll see a list view, and I can sort by first name, last name, by the entry date. There's a lot of things within Gravity Forms here I can control about the data that I'm getting. But this isn't really, by itself, it's like kind of hard to work with. I mean, it's like I would have to build some sort of custom application to make this friendly for somebody other than just looking at the form information by itself. So that's where FileMaker comes in. So if I chose here to click on Export, I can select that form, which is the player interest form. It'll show me all the fields on that form that exist, and I can choose a start and end date. So I could say, well, give me all of the forms exported as an Excel spreadsheet since last Monday, if they're new ones. So those I download the export file, and then I would go to, in this case, I have this FileMaker database already completed. It's like I could show you. This is not about FileMaker. This is about how it integrates with WordPress. But just assume that I built this FileMaker database that helps me along the way with managing my club. So you'll see it has navigation across the top for contacts, and that the contacts are all the people who have expressed interest, the team players and the parents and that kind of thing. And I've got detail in here about each contact. So I've got a view where I can see information about all the things. A lot of this is gathered online via WordPress, and then I could import it directly from there. That's the simplest way of integrating then FileMaker with it. But you see, a lot of the things that I can do here would be they'd be very time-consuming or difficult to do in WordPress, but they're important business functions that I want to have. For example, in the list view, I can quickly find all of the active people that have said that they are actually going to sign up with our group. I can click on the team name, and it will sort them by color and team that they're on, tell me the number of players. I can quickly email all of the people in a found set. So like if I found only the white team here, I could click on email students, it would email that group. I can also view this, because it's a relational database, as a group of teams. So I have a record for teams, and it's made up of those contacts that are members of that team. And I can quickly look at all the emails of the players, the parents, or everybody. I can look at the phone numbers, so I could quickly send a text message to all of them. I can keep notes. I can look at the calendar or a photo of that team. So it's all about storing that important information in a place that's easily accessible and easily searchable. So a lot of what FileMaker is giving me is the ability to just say, well, I have this data, I'm going to click on find. In fact, I could find anyone named Tim. There's nobody named Tim because I changed all this to sample data. I used to be in here. Let's see if there's a John. No, I don't even know who's in it. I could do a search for Boris. There's a Boris. Okay, and it finds that person, and this does not look like Boris. And then show the detailed information about that person very quickly. And again, FileMaker will allow me to do a find, and every single field on here I can do a find on without having to write any code. And this app would work equally well on Windows or even on an iPad just by downloading FileMaker Go. So again, we're getting a lot of advantage by taking that WordPress data and putting it into this custom app that we've built. What? Yes, that's the next step. You could, if I go back to here, so I could write a connector that would give me, I'd have a button in FileMaker, and it would just say, go out to WordPress and bring in the new ones. That's one way. Or I could also, we've already written a connector called Brilliant Sync that would allow you to do that. So, well, you like, with Brilliant Sync, for example, it allows you to schedule how often you want to have that synchronization of information to happen, if you wanted it every 15 minutes or once a day or whatever. So in the simplest, what?
Support on demand via web.
Yeah, I mean, or you could click a button and say, I want it right now, as, give me whatever happened in the last minute or something. But again, you're just talking database to database. FileMaker has a database behind it, and WordPress has a database behind it, which is MySQL based. FileMaker is its own database platform. It can talk to a lot of different ones, but that's what the FileMaker server is FileMaker. Yeah, and it does talk SQL commands. I mean, you can send SQL commands to it and do a lot of the standard database things. But that's part of the advantage of FileMaker, is that you don't need a database administrator it's like it's all in one. It's just integrated, the application development environment and the database. So I hope that example kind of gives you a view of how that could be valuable. Here's Brilliant Sync. Actually is a bigger product than just integrating FileMaker. WordPress is one of those things, as you see on the map, but it allows FileMaker to talk to all kinds of different things, whatever we have a plugin for. So now I'm going to give you 4 examples of how of ways that we have used WordPress to augment FileMaker and make them talk to each other. 4 different projects that we've worked on. And it goes from simple to most complex. So this is kind of the technology map, and this is the more complex version of it. You see, we've got FileMaker server here, which is a database server, and on the other side we've got a web server which has MySQL on it, and in the middle is Brilliant Sync. And so we're talking between the two. You can add in Amazon S3 to store images or large files. You could add in Spark Post to send emails reliably, or Mailgun or something like that. FM Ignite is our pre-built FileMaker solution that we sometimes use. And so you see on this side, you've got the office users, the people that are in a company, and they're primarily using FileMaker to do a lot of things. And then on the public-facing end of it, you have whatever is the users of WordPress. And one of the key things about opening up to hundreds and thousands of users is that FileMaker is a paid product. So if you were even going to try to use it to reach 1,000 users, which maybe you could, you have to pay for each one of those users as a user license. But WordPress doesn't require that. So you can really extend the power of what you've got in this business information to thousands of people without having to pay for licenses when you're using WordPress. So that's a big advantage of it being open source. So Hideaway Day Camp, they take camp registrations in WordPress, and then it brings it into FileMaker. It's very similar to the registrations that were done with the volleyball example. Wedding Guys is a company in the Twin Cities here, and they sponsor a lot of shows, wedding shows, where they have vendors from booths with wedding products, and they have ticketing for those that's it's kind of a complex ticketing model. They'll release things on sometimes free, sometimes discounted in different batches over time. And so they came to us, and they already had a FileMaker database, and they had also a website that was built on like a trade show kind of management platform, but they did not talk to each other. And they were doing a lot of data entry. It's like this, keeping track of the people and vendors and stuff in FileMaker, and then re-entering and rekeying it onto this other site. So we rebuilt a brand new WordPress site for them and made it talk to their FileMaker database so that they really simplified their process. So they create shows and venues and registrations and vendors, and then all that gets synced or pushed up to the WordPress website. So it's only a one-way synchronization. It's from their FileMaker database where they want to work and pushed out to WordPress. And so this is what their FileMaker database looks like, and it's nothing special, but it was something it doesn't look really flashy or anything, but we didn't create it. That was what they came to us with, and we basically added the button here that when they click on it, it pushes it to WordPress. So that's the integration. And so the vendors that they have entered end up looking like this when you go out to the website and you search and see, oh, maybe there's some product from some vendor I might want to purchase. The third example is a gallery called the Overland Gallery that specializes in Russian fine art and paintings, and they are kind of hidden in Minneapolis because they're not open to the public. They're open really to people who are very interested in expensive Russian art. And they had an old Microsoft Access database that they were keeping all this inventory of their art in, and they needed something new. So we rebuilt that on top of the FileMaker platform. And then at that point, they said, well, it'd be really nice if our website somehow was able to grab collections of images or collections of paintings that we might want to sell to a high-end collector. It's like so we can actually do searches on saying, it's like, I want something that's at least 20 inches wide and 30 inches tall, or even bigger than that, and it came from this period. It's like all the complex ways that this art could be categorized, and it's really beautiful. But they wanted to be able to present that in a private web view, so it's behind a password. And so we built a custom WordPress site that basically they go in FileMaker and they do all that searching, and they click and choose which paintings they think that they might be interested in, enter the costs, and then they click on the sync button, and it pushes out to WordPress and creates a private gallery with a password that they can send on in an email, and then they can preview. So this is what the back-end database looks like. Maybe this public gallery here has 10 pieces of artwork that they chose, and they click on the Sync Now button. It goes out and creates something like this, where they can go in and preview that. And we're actually storing like full resolution images out on S3, you know, that's really highly detailed scan. But these, you know, we're sending just thumbnails out to these people, but they can get the more detail if they want. So that's the third example. And the fourth example is called Backcountry Access. And they're a company that makes gear for protecting people against avalanches and all these backcountry mountainous adventure types. And imagine, if you will, that you are Backcountry Access, and a couple of years ago at Thanksgiving time, you have a website that's completely built on FileMaker, and it becomes it's Black Friday. So you have a sale, and hundreds, maybe thousands of people go to your website, and the FileMaker server can't keep up with it. And so your site crashes several times, and people cannot buy your products anyways during this site. You've lost a lot of money, you've lost a lot of goodwill. This is not a good thing. So that's what they came to us, you know, can you solve this problem for us? We said, yeah, we would never want to build a scaled website like that on FileMaker. FileMaker's for your internal usage within your company. So let's rebuild this on WooCommerce with WordPress, give you a brand spanking new website, but we'll make it talk to your FileMaker database so you can still use that to manage all of your internal reporting and that kind of thing. So you're using the products where they make the most sense. And so after we did that, you're pushing products, pricing, and inventory from FileMaker out into the WordPress world, categorization, and then you're getting back sales orders and line items off the sales orders. And then you're syncing customers both directions. So like you could create it in FileMaker and push it out to the web so they have an account, or somebody could just come in off the web and buy something and they have an account, and then that comes into FileMaker. So it's really a much more complex sync going both directions in some cases, but it solved their problem. And this last Thanksgiving, they made successful sales, and you know, didn't skip a beat. You know, it's like the WordPress website is out there doing its thing, you know, taking orders and stuff. FileMaker doesn't have to catch up until it needs to, you know, in the future. I mean, it's like even you know, it could run overnight and sync hundreds of orders or whatever. So that's kind of some examples of how we're using those in concert, and how WordPress really fulfills a need, and FileMaker can help supplement that and work together.